You launched. You're doing the work, you're posting, reaching out, showing up every day, and nobody cares yet. That's not a sign you failed, that's just what the first few months actually look like. I've watched this happen to dozens of founders, and I went through it myself with DMChamp before it hit 100K a year. Launch day isn't the finish line, it's day one of a slow grind, and there are specific things you should be doing during that grind that most people don't, which is what this video is about. 5 days, that's how long I sat there after launching on AppSumo. No orders, no questions, no refund requests, nothing. I kept checking the dashboard, refreshing it over and over like somehow the page was broken, and that's why nobody was buying. It wasn't broken, nobody was buying, people could see it, they just weren't clicking. This is the part nobody shows you. Every launch video on the internet skips from where you launched straight to there are results. So they cut out the middle, and the middle is silence, weeks of it, sometimes months of it, and nobody makes a video about the silence because there's nothing to show. No graphs going up, no Stripe notifications, just you sitting there wondering if anyone's ever going to find this thing. And that silence is where most people quit, not because the market rejected them, not because the product was bad, because nothing happened at all. And nothing is harder to deal with than rejection, because at least rejection gives you information. Silence gives you absolutely nothing to work with. The silence isn't feedback, it's not rejection, it's just absence. No signal either way. You don't know if the product is wrong, if the pricing is wrong, if the landing page is wrong, the market doesn't exist, or if you just need to wait another week. There's no data to analyze, no complaints to fix, no feedback to act on. You can't learn from nothing. That's the hardest part. You can't fix a product people complain about. You can't pivot if users tell you it's not working. But what do you do if nobody says anything at all? In a job, you do the work, you see the result, send the email, get the reply, hit the hours, get the paycheck, finish your project, see the outcome. Here you do the work and the room is empty. The gap between effort and feedback is completely unfamiliar, and when something is unfamiliar, it feels like failure even when it's not. So founders panic. They don't fail because the market rejected them, they fail because the silence felt like rejection and they changed course too early. They pivot before the market even had a chance to respond. They start doing things, anything, scrambling just to feel like something is happening, anything that feels like progress, because sitting with silence and doing the boring work feels like giving up. The silence is normal. 5 days, 5 weeks, sometimes 5 months. It happened to me, it'll happen to you. Every founder I've talked to went through some version of this. The question isn't whether the silence happens, it happens to everyone. The question is, what do you do during it? And what most people do during the silence is exactly the wrong thing. They start building, adding features, making the product better, because building is the one thing that still feels like you're moving forward. It feels productive, it feels like progress, but it's a trap, and the trap has a name. We built a Google Calendar import for DMChamp, a full integration, custom sync logic, the whole thing from scratch. Nobody has ever used it, not once. Not a few people tried it, literally zero. In the entire history of the product, not a single person has ever opened that feature. We built it because a couple of users asked for it, something super specific that doesn't even make sense for how the product actually works, but they asked and we had nothing else to do. No customers were knocking on the door, so we built it, weeks of work, and it's still sitting there doing nothing. When the silence hits, your instinct is to build, add features, make the product better, because building is the one thing that feels like progress. You can see the code being written, you can see the feature come together, you can push it live and feel like you did something today. But doing something and doing the right thing aren't the same. That's the job mindset kicking in again. Do more work, get more results. It worked your entire career, so you apply the same logic to your SaaS. Build more features, ship more updates. But post-launch, most features don't mean more customers. They mean more code to maintain, more bugs to fix, more surface area for things to break, more complexity in the product that makes onboarding harder, and still nobody's buying. Feature creep is a response to panic, not a response to data. Nobody emailed you asking for a Google Calendar import. Nobody said I'd pay only if you had this one feature. You're not building what users ask for. You're building what makes you feel less anxious about the silence. And while you're busy building features nobody needs, something else is happening with your actual customers. Something worse. Wrong customers, people who were never going to succeed with your product no matter what you built. One of our biggest churn drivers at DMChamp was people signing up for a chatbot without website traffic. Think about that for a second. A chatbot without traffic is like a salesperson in an empty store. The two works, there's just nobody there to use it. These people sign up, they configure the chatbot, they set it all up, they do everything right on their end, and then nothing happens because nobody's visiting their website in the first place. The chatbot is ready, the responses are configured, and it's sitting there with no no conversations coming in. So after a month, they leave and you count that as churn, but it wasn't really churn. It was a bad fit from day one. You didn't lose a customer. You acquired someone who was never going to succeed with your product. 2 failure modes: building things nobody asked for, like the Google Calendar import, and acquiring customers who can't succeed with your product, like the chatbot with no traffic. Both few productive, neither moves you forward. The silence isn't a product problem. Adding more features won't fix it. Getting more users who aren't ready for your product won't fix it either. The silence is a distribution and fit problem. You don't need a better product. You need the right people to actually find the product you already have. See the gap? You've got 2 failure modes that feel productive and 1 actual problem nobody wants to face: distribution and fit. So if building features is wrong and chasing any customer is wrong, what do you actually do during the silence? Because the answer isn't exciting. It's not a hack, it's not a shortcut, it's not something you can do in a weekend. It's something most founders refuse to commit to for long enough. It takes about 90 days to get good at one channel, not to master it, not to go viral, just to stop being terrible at it. That's not a marketing theory, it's just the reality of learning anything new. You're bad at it for weeks, then slightly less bad, then decent enough that the numbers start moving. And those first weeks of being bad are the part that kills most people, because it feels like nothing is working. Cold email, if you're getting at least 1% reply rate, keep going. If you're getting 0, something's wrong with the message, not the market. LinkedIn, I covered that. I covered the specific numbers in a previous video. Those are your benchmarks. They're not exciting numbers, but they're real. Pick 1, not 2, not 3, 1 channel and give it a real 90-day shot before you judge whether it works. And while you're doing that, your pricing is going to change a lot more than you think. With YamChamp, we changed the pricing constantly. Started with pay-per-result because that was the easy sell, then pay-per-usage once we had a real product, then we switched to subscription once we actually understood our costs and margins, then adjusted the subscription price and again. No grand strategy behind any of it, no pricing consultant, no spreadsheet model that predicted the perfect price point, just looking at how the market responds and adjusting. We'd raise the price and see if anyone pushed back. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't even notice. You see what competitors charge, you see where the people drop off, and you respond. The pricing never really settles. Even now, we still adjust it. You just keep tuning, changing onboarding, adjusting pricing, tweaking the landing page. That's the actual work. Not one big pivot, not one genius insight, not one conversation that changes everything. Small adjustments week after week for months, testing different price points, rewriting how you describe the product, shortening the free trial, lengthening it again. Nobody posts about any of this on Twitter. Nobody makes a YouTube video about, I changed my pricing for the 4th time and it might be slightly better now. But that's the actual job after you launch. And iteration only works if you pick one thing to iterate on. You can't iterate on 5 channels at once. You can't test 3 pricing models at the same time. Pick one, measure, adjust, repeat for 90 days. I covered in the last video why trying everything at once kills your momentum. That's the grind. It's not glamorous. Nobody's going to congratulate you for changing your onboarding email for the 6th time. Well, it's the only thing that actually works. The aha moments with YamChamp happened early. The proof of concept, the first paying customer who got 200 contacts and real results, the hair transplant clinic where we saw it close big deals. Those were the moments that told us the product worked. But after that, no more aha moments, just to grind, making it slightly less bad every week until the numbers started moving. And you couldn't point to one thing and say, that's what did it. Just a good product that got slightly better over time. That's the whole story. Most people are looking for the moment, the breakthrough, the day everything clicks. There isn't one. And the people who succeed are the ones who kept going without it, who showed up on day 47 when nothing had changed and did the work anyway. So how do you know when iteration is working versus when you're just wasting time? Because that's the real question, and the answer requires you to understand something about yourself, not about your product. You started with distribution, found the right problem, built the MVP, made it look professional, picked your launch channels, and now you've launched. And the hardest part isn't any of those steps. The hardest part is the silence afterwards, because every other step had clear feedback. Build the product, you can see it working. Fix the landing page, you can see it improve. Launch an AppSumo, you see the listing go live. Set up your LinkedIn, someone replies. Every step along the way, you did the work and you could see the result immediately. But after all that, you sit there and nothing happens for a while. You spent your whole career in environments where effort produces visible results. School, you study, you pass the exam. Jobs, you hit the hours, you get the paycheck. Project with deadlines, you deliver the work, you see it go live. Everything you've ever done had a feedback loop built in. Do the work, see the outcome. SaaS post-launch is the first time in your life where you can do everything right and see nothing for months. That's not failure, that's just how this works. Even now, when traffic dips or a week goes by with no new signups, my first instinct is to build something, add a feature, change the landing page, anything that feels like progress. It never goes away, you just get better at sitting with the silence. The Google Calendar import is still there in the code base, nobody's ever used it, not once, and it's the best reminder I have. Because every time I feel the urge to build a feature nobody asked for, I think about that import, all that work, all that time, 0 users, and I close the IDE and go back to the actual work. The boring work, the grind, the stuff that doesn't feel like progress, but it's the only thing that actually moves the needle.